Good morning, gentlemen. It's good to see your faces again.
Yeah, good morning.
Um, Good morning, Mr.
Morning, Mr.
David.
Tosin.
Good morning, Mr. Hade. Good morning, Mr. Steve.
Morning, sir. Good
It
morning,
is
It's good to
sir.
see
good.
you. It's good to
Always,
see you after a long time. How are you, sirs?
always a pleasure.
We're
Very,
very good.
very well. Very well.
So,
It's a great privilege. It's a great privilege to see us remotely again after our last discussion. And I'm sure we've been having a great time, isn't it?
Yeah, good to see you again, sir.
Us. Thank you very much. We want to really use this opportunity to acknowledge the comment of our viewers all over the world. We actually saw your comments and some private messages that had been sent in. Personally, we really want to appreciate you and for actually finding time to check us out, to understand who we are as a people, as an organization, if I can put it that way. And your beautiful comments actually have given us a lot of great accolades, if I can say, and it's a great milestone achieved, in the course of this discourse. And we can see your inputs one way or the other. And thank you. We want you guys to continue to do that. That's really going to help us in achieving our aims in the course of our project ahead. Thank you very much. I want to welcome you guys back. Thank you for your time. How are you, sirs?
Yeah, we are good.
Today.
Thank you.
Awesome. I could recall we had our last discussion before the election. That was before the general election in Nigeria, and we can see how interesting the election, how it went from all angles. Let me put it that way. And I'm just going to say, let's just start from the overview of what actually happened in the course of the election. And my first question today is, it's going to be a discussion, actually. So it's going to go to Mr. Steve. Could you please give me the overview of your own analysis as per the electoral review, electoral analysis, let me put it that way, overview of the what happened in the course of the election? Thank you, sir.
I think first I would like to congratulate Nigerians for we have done something quite spectacular. And I think what we've done is we've been able to put our hand on the arc of history and we've bent into a better days for us, transitioning from a democratically elected government to another. I think it's a thing of joy, given the diverse ethnicity, religions, and political divide in Nigeria. But despite the outcome of the election, of course, there will be winners and losers. But I think what we've done is we've shown to the world and we've proven to ourselves that we are capable of governing ourselves. And now that we've chosen democracy as our best system of government, we are doing something quite significant that puts hope, not just for us, but for the generations on board. So generally, I think it's a good thing. But when you look at it specifically on the political aspect, you realize that there were some shortcomings, not just some. I think a lot of shortcomings on the part
Absolutely.
of the election umpire.
I agree with
But
you, sir.
I think again, that defines what democracy is. People will be aggravated, people will be aggrieved, and that's again the essence of the Supreme Court and the judicial process. And so, what you see now is the aggrieved parties challenging the outcome of the election. And I do have faith. I do have this absolute faith in our not just the electoral system, but on the judicial system that justice will prevail. And I think at the end of the day, that's what we all want. I like to think every Nigeria is part of the Nigerian project. It doesn't matter your political affiliations. I think at the end of the day, what we require most is to see a better Nigeria. And of course, we might disagree on some fundamental principle, but what I cannot question in any Nigerian is the faith that we have in our country. So again, a huge congratulations to the people of Nigeria. We've done
Thank,
incredible work. Thank you.
thank you very much. Thank you very much for that excellent remark. It's actually very beautiful. We understand the fact that our democracy is also still very young compared to other countries in the world, such as the United States, that are over 200, almost 200, 200 years, and we need to appreciate it. And in having gone through electoral process and democracy, if I may say, uninterrupted, well, I think we should give Nigeria that kudos. Thank you very much for that excellent remark. I really appreciate that. The next question is going to go to Mr. David, sir. I just want you to also give me an overall view of your own personal review or what you actually saw or read or in the course of the election.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much. What I just want to say is that the last election was not really perfect. There were a lot of manipulation, so to speak, and a lot of, I've never seen in that kind of fashion before, because when you look at what took place on that day, we discovered that, some of the things that happened during the election, is it the rigging, is it the manipulation, so obvious. And what happened is that some of the parties that were involved, they were not even ashamed of it. It was so glaring. But I believe one thing is that we are still learning as a nation. But I believe one thing, that it's time for us as a nation, as a Nigeria, that this is the time for us to start doing things right. For how long is it going to take us to be doing the same thing and expect different results? For example, now, if we cannot conduct a credible election, how can our nation grow? Because there's a kind of synergy, there's a kind of correlation between when things are done right and when things are not done right. You cannot do things wrongly and expect a spectacular result. No, it's not done. It's not done. So from the experience, I think we Nigerians, people involved, they should turn a new leaf and let's start doing things well, so that at the end of the day, our nation can grow and we can get better. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that, sir. That's very awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. And it's understandable that as a nation, we call ourselves Nigerian. They call us, we are the giant of Africa. No, we are not called. We are the giant of Africa. And a lot of African countries actually emulate us, and they look, they follow our footsteps in so many ways. So at least I know as a giant, we need to put in that leadership and that holistic approach in a very, very solid way to set our goals right and achieve all we need to achieve, so that others can follow as appropriate. Thank you very much for that. And you also made mention of the problems here and there that we had in the course of the election. It's unfortunate that we had that, but I feel we still have to be grateful for a positive outcome. At least we didn't have to go to court. Sorry, not to court. The military didn't have to take over, and we need to be grateful for that. Thank you very much for that remark. And my next question is actually going to go to Mr. Obelawo. Mr. Obelawo, as an IT professional that I know that you are, and I know we had technical glitches in the course of the elections, and it's so unfortunate that we even had less technical issues during the gubernatorial and senatorial elections, and came out to when it was the turn of the presidential election, there was a major thing. What's your own overview of the technical mishap that happened? How could it be avoided, and what's the future? What do you think we can do better in the future, sir? Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tosin. That's a one in a million question. So I actually believe this is the first election where we are going to, try technology like this. And to what my other brother said, Mr. David, that things are not done from his own view. I actually understand his view, but what I just want to bring out is that I just go by this popular saying that little drops of water makes an ocean. Rome was not built in a day. And even though we have our Nigeria now and people are complaining, I want to categorically state that part of development is the use of technology in elections like this. I don't think Nigeria has actually witnessed, this kind of election where we actually use technology to vote. And if you look at the previous elections that we've had, they've been way worse than I think this one that we had. Yeah, we have people saying that their choices were not elected and all of that. But this is why we call it democracy. This is why we call it, what we call it. So in terms of your question, the technology, look, technology is unpredictable, and the world we live now, the modern world we live now, we are beginning to even hear about AIs and all of that. You cannot, how do I put it? There are bugs that happens, unprecedented, unexpected bugs that actually affect, an organizational production in a day. We have, this news on the other time where we have like Optus was hacked. Optus is a big, well-known organization. One would have actually expected that such a big organization wouldn't go through what they actually went through. And it wasn't only Optus. There were other big companies that were hacked. And to what you said we experienced that in presidential election and not the gubernatorial senatorial election. It's the presidency, for crying out loud. Look, presidency is a power, is a seat that everybody wants. So you don't even know where these actions or where these bugs might have come from. It might not even be within Nigeria. It might even be from outside the country. We don't know much about it. And the only thing we can do is, so in IT, there's what we call the root cause analysis, like problem management. How can we move further? How can we stop this from happening? Is to look at what was done here, like the mistakes, everything that was, all these bugs and all of these things that we've experienced, and do a continuous service improvement on them. How can we mitigate such things that has happened during this particular election in the near future? But launching into the world of technology, using technology to vote, using our technology, I think, Nigeria it's a huge milestone for Nigeria, which we should actually welcome and appreciate. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for that excellent remark. Thank you so much. And we all honestly appreciate the fact that technical issues and glitches rather, and problems could emanate from any angle at any point in time. But with what you just said, with root cause analysis, and that it brings me a question now that I will actually throw to Mr. Steve. As a project manager that you are, and I know that obviously continuous improvement is a very fundamental thing in any organization, and we'll look at Nigeria as an organization in that regard. How do you see in the future the possibility with these issues that we have on ground? How do you see the possibility of voting, diaspora voting? Allowing people in diaspora to be able to participate, because it's their civic human right. They need to also participate. What if you can just tell us in a few minutes, sir?
I think I'll first of all take a comment on what Mr. Obelawo had mentioned about the continuous improvement and what we can do better. I think it's when things are worse, they can only get better. Let's assume this is the worst we can ever get. So we are going to we will start building from where we are now. But it's important that we build on a structured foundation. If the foundation is poor, we are only going to build on a sinking sand. With that said, I think it's the responsibility of the legislature to build to legislate for a new act, an establishment that will allow diaspora, Nigerians in diaspora, because of course we contribute enormously to the economy of Nigeria. Therefore, I think we have to have a political say for people who live overseas. According to World Remit, I think in 2021, at the peak of COVID, Nigerians in diaspora remitted a total of 23 billion US dollars. To put it in perspective, our budget for that year was 40 billion US dollars. So it is safe to say that diasporas contributed more than half of the budget. And if you know what they say, the man who plays the piper, the tune of the music. And so we have a big stake. We are Nigerians in diaspora are not just those people who are overseas seeking for greener pasture. They remit such an amount of and transfer resources for the development of the country. So I think it's very important. It's not just a noble idea; it's a vital one. Our democracy has come to an age where it becomes pertinent. It becomes suicidal not to have diaspora voting in the election. So I think I do believe in this new 8th Senate and 8th National Assembly that there will be legislation that is, I think, dynamic and spontaneous that will allow Nigerians in diaspora to have a say. And I think Nigerians in diaspora are up to more than 2 million, and that's a significant chunk of vote.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
yes, it's not just a noble idea; it's a vital one. And I believe this state assembly will do justice to it.
Thank you very much for that. That's why we always love to have you on this discourse with your critical analysis skill. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. And Mr. David, I think you want to chip in something.
Yeah, I just really appreciated what my brother said, Mr. Steve. Yeah, it's one of the most important things because I believe once the diaspora, with the kind of exposure that we have gotten, at least it's going to help people at home so that we can make a right choice. Because most of the time, the people at home, they make some choices based on the little knowledge and brainwash whatever that politician might sell to them.
That's right.
But people in diaspora, because of the exposure, they are not moved by sentiment. They move by facts because of the level of their exposure. So it's going to help. So if we can do some legislation along that path for us to foster, it's going to help a lot. And as he said, this is just the beginning. If everything can get better, but we need everybody to come together to achieve this.
Thank you very much for that excellent remark. Thank you very much. Mr. Obelawo, could you please chip in one or two things before we run this topic up at this moment?
Yeah, I actually don't have much to say. I think my Mr. Steve and Mr. David said it all. It's really highly important that Nigerians in diaspora are given that opportunity to actually have their say when it comes to election in Nigeria. It's another way of showing transparency, because like Mr. David said, we in diaspora there's no sentiment, and we go for, and this is where it's even going to challenge whoever is coming to be the president of Nigeria, whoever is coming to rule Nigeria. It's going to give them another challenge that, look, what are you coming, what are you bringing to the table? Don't just come to us and say that you are going to announce a drink-free day for people when you get elected, or the bag of rice is going to become cheaper.
Stomach infrastructure, they call it.
Exactly. So we've gone past that. So if we a good example was, sorry to mention names, but I think part of the things that Moyole did when he was going about during this the previous election, he actually went country to country to actually pitch his tents, which I believe is one of the greatest move that someone can. It shows. I'm not in support of that. I'm just giving an example of how like the design of how that future election will be. knowing that, when these politicians know that, we need the people, the vote of these people in diaspora, when they know that, look, we have to bring something solid to the table for them to actually have that, conviction that we are best for the city. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much for that excellent remark, gentlemen. That's so awesome. If we do have the time, I know with this it's a very, very topical issue. We'll go on and on and on and on and on and on without, and do an injustice to it. Thank you very much. And what I actually want to really appreciate is our passion for our country, Nigeria, despite the fact that, we live in different countries all over the world, and some in Australia, some in Canada, some in the US. As we are, and the fact that we are professionals in our own right and we're doing well in our own right, it gives me joy that we have a lot of Nigerians, youthful Nigerians, that are ready to contribute their own culture to the development and sustainability of the country. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Wale Soyinka, he posed a notion many years ago, and he says, and I will quote, he says, when is a nation not a nation? I just trying to give a background understanding of what we're going to discuss.
It is institution that builds a country. When you build an institution, I'll give you a simple example. And I've not been to Lagos, but I've heard so many people say that
unity is a very, very vital, vital for the growth of the country.
Merit or meritocracy is so important. If you see the nation like maybe Japan, they are doing well because they place, merit above sentiment or any other thing.